Hello everybody, welcome to the final edition of The Verdict this season, and we're going to go out with a bit of a bang because we've got the British QIPCO Champions Day at Ascot to look at. We're going to take a look at the majority of the card, then we'll go to Leopardstown to look at a horse who might make up into a Derby contender next year, but predominantly we're going to be concentrating on what happened at Ascot on what was Frankie's day. Here are the winners and the associated times. The going was officially described as soft. I think it was heavy really on the straight course where Big Rock ran an art power as well, and on the round course, which of course was the much talked about inner track, it rode a little bit better, but it was definitely soft on that course. So quite attritional conditions and quite slow times as well. Some very interesting sectionals to get stuck into. And we need to say that these are not CourseTrack sectionals that I will be referring to. They are courtesy of Longines, who provide all of the timing at Ascot. So we thank them for their sectionals. Right, we're going to start with the Long Distance Cup. It was just shy of 2 miles on that inner track, and Kyprios was the 11 to 10 favourite for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Trushan looking to win this race for the 4th year in succession, 5 to 2. Coltrane 15 to 2. Sweet William 17 to 2. Trawlerman 9s. And it was 33s and bigger the rest. What a start to the meeting this was for Frankie Dettori, winning for the Gosdens on Trawlerman. Came out of stall number 1 and he defeated Kyprios from 6 and Sweet William from stall number 3. Now, this was quite a strongly run race with Maxident going forward and going way too hard out in front in those ammo racing colours. Trawlerman, a little bit keen early on, is just sat there, tracking the pace at this stage. Kyprios not far off the pace also, with Sweet William held up. Trushan here got a little bit sweaty beforehand. He's a little bit keen under Holly Doyle, is just having a look to try and get in at that point of the race. The finishing speed percentage for this contest, courtesy of Longines, was 98.59%. That's for the winner, Trawlerman. So what we're dealing with is a very truly run contest here, with the winner finishing tired, yet still managing to rally and get back up in the closing stages. So the pace early on was average, but once they swung away from the stands, it really picked up. And the 5th furlong and the 6th furlong, Trawlerman, in pursuit of Maxident, dipped under 12 seconds. He went 11.51 in the 5th furlong of the race, and then 11.83 in the 6th. And that took him a number of lengths clear of Kyprios in the white sleeves and red cap, and indeed of the rest of the field. At this stage, he's about 6-7 lengths behind Maxident, but he in turn, with those 2 quick furlongs, which perhaps caught the jockeys in behind by surprise, has pulled clear of the rest of the field. And there's a point in the race where Kyprios has to go out in pursuit, where Ryan Moore really gets after him to go and try and close the gap. The genius of this performance from Trawlerman and from Dettori is that he gets a breather into Trawlerman. He fired those fast furlongs, the 5th and the 6th, in pursuit of Maxident, established a lead over Kyprios, but then, as they turned for home, he got a breather according to the sectionals. His 11th furlong, he slowed to an 13.33, and his 12th to a 13.43. So what happened was, yes, Ryan Moore got after Kyprios with 6 to go to try and get to Trawlerman, but Frankie also took a pull and got a breather into Trawlerman, and that told in the vital closing stages when Trawlerman just had enough petrol to fight back, having been headed. Brilliant stuff from Dettori, telling us that, well, he's still got it, and this is why he wants to ride on, I think, because he's still got such a good feel for race riding and for pace. This is where he's getting a breather. He's had a little look through his legs, and he's eased off. He's gone 2 steady furlongs there to fill Trawlerman up. Kyprios is coming. Ryan Moore will launch him round the outside, and indeed, Kyprios, going in pursuit, was fastest through the 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th furlong, because he had to go and chase Trawlerman. But that's to a degree because Dettori took a pull and got a breather. You think Kyprios is going to win at this stage, he's got to the front, but in going in pursuit, in bridging the gap, he's got no petrol left thereafter, and Trawlerman is able to rally and fire the fastest final 2 furlongs the 14th 13-2, the 15th 13-2-6. Brilliant from Dettori, a tired Kyprios trying to rally against the rail in the closing stages. He might have got back up in a few more strides. Such was the rally that he was putting up there. But Dettori had judged this to perfection. He realised Maxton was going too quick, so he didn't go with him. He let that horse go, but he established an advantage over Ryan Moore and Kyprios. He then got a breather, and even though he was headed, once switched out, Trawlerman rallied, and when Kyprios began to empty, Trawlerman got back up. What do we make of the form overall? Well, there's disappointments in behind, particularly Trushan and Coltrane. The front two 13 lengths clear of Sweet William. Some horses not handling conditions. I don't think Broome did. Don't think he enjoyed it out there. It was pretty soft. It was quite hard work for them. But this was brilliant from Dettori, a superbly judged ride. And it was a theme for Champions Day, I think, that we had some very good performances in the saddle. More to be highlighted as we work our way through the show. But what a start to the day it was for Frankie. And, well, we all know that he bookended it, of course, with King of Steel. But the reception he received on Trawlerman was an ecstatic one. And the crowd were treated to the Lee Custerby flying dismount, of which there have been many throughout his illustrious career at Ascot. And just a plug for the verdict, Trawlerman was featured on when he won at Salisbury in his first run of the season here, and advised for this long distance cup. So I hope you took the advice and got with him. Brilliant from Dettori, superb stuff. Not quite sure what the form is worth, but that was some ride. From the stayers to the sprinters, let's have a look at the QIPCO British Champions Sprint Stakes on the straight course. 6 furlongs. Kinross was a warm order here on ground that he loved. He won this race last year and he was 5-4 under Frankie. 15-2 Millstream. Sandrine was the same. Rohan 11s. Spycatcher 11s. Sense of Duty was 14s. 18 St Lawrence. And we haven't got down to the winner yet. And right down at the bottom there, Art Power, a 40-1 shock in the QIPCO British Champions Sprint. He came out of stall number 1. And he defeated Kinross, the favourite, who came from stall number 8. Spycatcher from 9 and Swing Along from stall 3 was back in 4th. This is what unfolded out there. The first thing I want to say really is that I think it was an advantage to be over towards the far side. I think we saw that for sure in the Balmoral Handicap, the final race on the card, where horses drawn low had a distinct advantage over those drawn high. Okay, let's just forget about it being an advantage to be over there. What did Art Power do according to the figures? Well, he was given a good ride by David Allen. He was rated evenly out in front. The finishing speed percentage 97.12 for Art Power. So he's gone quite hard over there, but he's not done too much, and he's had enough left when Kinross comes to challenge in the closing stages. We'll just see where Kinross is. Here's Art Power, all on his lonesome, and there's Kinross in there under Frankie. He's just niggling away, Frankie. Horse was never really on the bridle. He's better at 7 furlongs. It might just be that the pace was strong enough for him. Individual sectionals for the winner. 2nd furlong 12.06, 3rd furlong 12.02, 4th furlong 12 dead. You'd expect quicker than that. You really would expect quicker than that in a 6 furlong Group 1 sprint, but that's a function of the ground. David Allen not going too fast, just rating this horse evenly out in front, and that's why he had enough to fight back when Kinross got to him. And the reason he was able to fight back to a degree is that Kinross curled up to somewhat because he was faster than the winner through furlongs 2, 3 and 4. He surged to get to Art Power. He used up all his energy, and Art Power, rated evenly, had some energy left in the closing stages. It was a very good effort from Kinross. For example, his 4th furlong 12.46, Art Power could only go 12.9. Kinross was running fast in pursuit of the bold grey horse. He used up his energy and his speed to get to Art Power, and then Art Power fought back. Kinross's head just going to one side a little bit in the final few yards, just suggesting he'd had enough, he'd done enough. He'd run really fast to get to the winner, but then had nothing left late on in the piece, and Art Power rallied to really good effect. That was a tremendous performance from the grey horse. He's had a really good season. He was disappointing on his last couple of starts at his beloved Curragh and in the Prix de l'Abbé. But here he's gained his first ever Group 1 success, and he's had plenty of goes, 15 previous goes, but he's got his first Group 1, and it was a first Group 1 for David Allen as well. There he is coming back in, a 40-1 winner of the Champions Sprint. In behind, Spycatcher and Swing Along both ran really well for the in-form Carl Burke team. They've had a tremendous season and they ran well, but Art Power benefited from stall 1. He raced alone over on the far side. He was rated very evenly by David Allen. He didn't go too fast in the early stages, and that allowed this horse to have just enough to see off Dettori, who perhaps got to the front briefly on the favourite, but Art Power just outgamed him in the closing stages for a shot result in the sprint. Let's have a look at the QIPCO British Champions Fillies and Mare Stakes now. Group 1 over 1.5 miles. So again, we're on that inner track. Jackie O for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, 3-1 favourites. Time Lock 5-1, 11-2 Free Wind. Blue Stocking 6-1, it's 8-1 Rue Boissonade. Above the curve 12s, 14 Sweet Memories. Running Line 16, still not at the winner. Got to go down to 22-1 for Poptronic, who obliges for the Carl Burke team, and Sam James, the man on board. Poptronic from stall 10 out wide, beat Blue Stocking from 11 and Jackie O from 9. Very positive ride in the early part of the race from Sam James on Poptronic. And her Achilles heel in the past has been that she's very keen in her races, and she was pretty keen here. Sam James was keen to get her to the front and then try and get her to settle. You can see her out wide, pretty free there, wanting to do a little bit too much. That's what she's been like in all of her races so far. And she went fast through the first 3 furlongs. Her first furlong, 11.09, that's quick, over 1.5 miles. Second furlong, 11.19, that's quick as well. And the third, 11.93, as Sam James is beginning to get her back into his lap. She begins to relax with him, and now, after 3 furlongs, he's able to just about drop his hands and dictate a steadyish gallop thereafter. So he's had to go hard to get her to the front, to establish a lead, and now he's going to steady the pace through the 5th, 6th and 7th furlong. And that was critical to her winning, because it was a narrow margin of success in the end from Blue Stocking. And Sam James just able to save enough on her to repel the closers in the final 3 furlongs. Once he'd worked hard for a couple of furlongs to get to the front, then he's been able to save a little bit of energy on her, and that was just enough. I think she was a neck winner in the end. In behind, Blue Stocking is perhaps a little bit unlucky. She is held up in the green cap with plenty to do at this stage, but she runs on very strongly in the closing stages for the Rafe Beckett team, and indeed her final 3 furlongs were very good. She was faster than the winner, in fact, through the last 3. The winner 39.14, 38.41 for Blue Stocking, but she's getting a bad trip. She's going to have to come wide to challenge, and Poptronic, going the shortest way, always in front, can kick off this bend, and now the closers are going to have to try and get to her. She sees off the nearest pursuers, and the closers come now. They're out wide. Ryan Moore beginning to rally on the favourite here, and here's Blue Stocking out and running on, but it's going to be all too late. Both those two run faster than the winner in the final 3 furlongs, but they just cannot get there. Poptronic, a ground-saving ride, an energy-saving ride after those first 3 furlongs, hangs on for the Carl Burke team. A tremendous result for them. Look at Blue Stocking surging. She'd have been there in a few more strides, but the post came in time. What a win for Sam James. Group 1 success for him. And you have to credit him with a very good ride. We saw Frankie on Chorlman, excellent ride, saving some energy at a vital part of the race. David Allen rating out Art Power evenly in the sprint, and now this from Sam James, going hard to get an advantage and then wrangling her back and saving energy and asking all of the others to come wide and come and get her, and they couldn't. They weren't good enough. Perhaps Blue Stocking a little bit unlucky. Don't think there were too many hard luck stories in behind, really. Jackie O had every chance. Free Wind, likewise, filly with the big white face. She seemed to have every chance as well. And Poptronic finally has her day in the sun. She's mixed it in good company. She's won a Lancashire Oaks this season at Haydock Park, but this is her first ever Group 1 success, and it really caps off a fantastic season for the Carl Burke team. Many congratulations to them. Another big price winner after Art Power's 40-1 success. This filly going in around about 22-1. But there was no fluke in it. It was just a good ride from the front. It was good to be on the inside as well, saving ground, forcing the others wide. And she came back to a warm round of applause and an elated Carl Burke team in the winner's enclosure. Okay, the much-awaited QE2 Stakes now. 1 mile on the straight course. Paddington, 7-4 favourite, returning from a little bit of a break to freshen him up. 7-2 Tahira for Dermot Weld. Big Rock, well found in the market. 5-1 from 15-2. Nashwa, 5-1. 2,000 guineas winner Kildare, 10-1. Factor Cheval, 14s, and then big prices, the rest of them. And it was Big Rock who took this race apart. It's a tremendous performance. This stall number 6 he came from, and he's defeated Facteur Cheval from 8, so 1-2 for the French Raiders, and Tahira from 10 back in third, with Paddington and Nashwa both disappointing. So to a degree, the race fell apart. Immediately, the winner is in front, taken straight to the front by Aurélien Lemaitre, and in behind, if we roll it on, you'll see that Paddington is fresh and keen. He's a little bit too rank. And just see him there pulling his way up under Ryan Moore. Ryan can't get him to relax. He did way too much in the early part of the race. So excuse in for Paddington immediately. Nashwa's in behind here, going perfectly well at this stage. Tahira's out wide, and your winner bowling along in front. And bowling along at a pretty good pace for the conditions. If you look at his individual sectionals, they're not fantastic. Second furlong 12.14, third 12.13, fourth 12.2, fifth 12.3. But what they were under the conditions, it was a pretty strongly run race, I think I'd have to say. They've gone pretty hard out in front, and to a degree the other jockeys think he's going to come back, I think, but he doesn't. He just keeps on rolling. That 12.13 in the third furlong helped him to establish an advantage over the others that he never relinquishes. He went faster through the first 6 furlongs of this race than Art Power did when winning the sprint. So that's, in the conditions, how quickly he went, even if those individual furlongs did not dip under 12 seconds. For the conditions, he was going hard in front. And we know that from the finishing speed percentage of the winner. 92.78. He's absolutely on fumes in the closing stages. He's slowing down markedly through the final couple of furlongs, but he's established such an advantage that he is not for reeling in. The only horse to run on in the closing stages is Facteur Cheval in the pink colours with the big white face going past Tahira. But the advantage that Big Rock had established was unassailable. It was way too much for any of his rivals in behind. Conditions meant that it was hard to make up ground, and this horse in the conditions went quite hard early on, firing out even fractions, and then got tired, but nothing could catch him. Facteur Cheval finished best in the final 3 furlongs, but get this, for final 3 furlongs, 40.57. Nowhere near even 12 that. We're dealing with very slow ground and horses trying to make up ground off a slow gallop. So essentially, Big Rock was very, very good out there. He established a lead and he was never going to be pegged back. Now, to a degree, look how well they're strung out. The race has fallen apart a bit, hasn't it? Paddington too rank and Ryan Moore eased him off. He just did too much. He was way too fresh. Nashwa, I don't think she handled conditions. She might bounce back in the Phillies and Mares at the Breeders' Cup if they decide to go there on better ground. So to a degree, it perhaps fell apart. Tahira hung in the ground as well. She was perhaps a little bit disappointing. So it may have fallen apart behind Big Rock, but he was really good out there. He's got some very good form as well. He's chased home the Arc winner, Ace Impact, earlier this year. He got within 3 lengths of Ace Impact when they met. So he's a very good horse in his own right. He relished conditions. He handled them way better than all of his rivals out there. He put them to the sword and he was not for catching. Well, let's move on to the big one, the QIPCO Champions Stakes. No Mosterdaf taken out on account of the ground. 10 furlongs the trip, and King of Steel the favourite. Under Frankie at 3-1 for the Roger Varian team. Bay Bridge, last year's winner, 100-30. Horizon Door, 4-1. Via Sistina, 11-2. Dubai Honour, 17-2 from 11s. My Prospero, sporting headgear for the first time, a tongue tie and blinkers. 16's Royal Rhyme, Point Lonsdale, an 18-1 shot. What a swan song for Frankie Dettori at Ascot. His final ride here in this segment of his career at least, and King of Steel obliges for him from stall 1. Via Sistina from 9 was second, and Horizon Dos was third, and that came from stall number 2. Frankie decides to take back in the early part of the race and get off the rail as well. He didn't want to be close to the rail. See Point Lonsdale, the big white face, he's on the rail. Well, Frankie could have tracked him through, but he's decided he doesn't want to be on the rail, and he's just edged off it, and to get plenty of cover, I presume, in behind all of the field, for he sits last in the early part of a contest that was pretty strongly run, actually. My Prospero going forward with Royal Rhyme, 2 horses in the yellow colours. Point Lonsdale pushing it with the big white face on the inside as well, and you've got Bay Bridge in a good position, actually. Sat in 4th place on ground that should suit him. Winner recorded a finishing speed percentage of 96.24, and that's telling us that he finished tired. He got up in the closing stages under a sympathetic ride from Dettori, but through the final 3 furlongs he was slowing down, because this gallop was pretty honest. The first 2 furlongs from My Prospero, as he took them along, were both sub 12 seconds. He's really rolling along. You'd expect in a Group 1 10 furlong race to be going round about even 12s. Well, he has gone sub 12s, so they've gone pretty hard. And the way the race is panning out, Frankie's probably in the best position out the back here on King of Steel. They're about to turn into the home straight, and we can talk about the final 3 furlongs, because King of Steel was quickest through those 3 furlongs. His 9th of 13.01 and his 10th of 13.66 was much better than the rest. In fact, his final furlong is the only horse in this Group 1 10 furlong race to dip under 14 seconds. Nothing else could go under 14. That's a function of the pace of the race that sapped energy and the ground. Now, My Prospero's in trouble on the rail already under Tom Marquand, and Frankie's about to switch out and get King of Steel going. Via Sistina in here. Oisin Murphy is about to try and launch a challenge. A filly trained by George Bowie. He's got a bright turn of foot. Oisin will drop his whip between the 2 and the 1 pole. Just about now it's going to go. He'll lose it. Who knows what difference that made. And here comes Frankie cajoling this big giant of a horse, King of Steel, into the race. He doesn't get really serious with him. I think he's a horse he really wants to be sort of nudged and nurdled into races rather than bullied. And Frankie did that absolutely to perfection. Brilliantly timed. He didn't get after this fella. It was just hands and heels. Horses were tired all around him. Indeed, he was tired. And he just kept hold of the horse and kept nudging him out, hands and heels, persuading him, cajoling him. And King of Steel responded. He's a fantastic racehorse. He ran Auguste Rodin, didn't he, to very close in the Epsom Derby. He looked like the winner at one point in that race, and he's run some brave races since then, indeed winning at Royal Ascot in the King Edward VII Stakes. So he's a very good horse. I think this is the sort of ride he wants, just a cajoling one, a little couple of flicks with the whip, that's all, and he gets up to beat Via Sistina. Horizon Door, who was always prominent, has run pretty well too. Via Sistina's run an absolute blinder. Don't know whether dropping the whip would have made any difference. Remember, the whip, particularly when their horses are slowing down, and just all it serves to do is to keep them going rather than for them to urge them to quicken. They can't quicken off a pace like that in ground like that. But Dettori, realising they went hard, dropped this horse out, nurdled him into the race, cajoled him to the front, and he wins on his final ride at Ascot in this segment of his career, to a rapturous applause from the crowd. They were 10, 20, 30 deep around the winner's enclosure. The flying dismount was cheered. They were singing his name in the stands as he walked back in. It was just unbelievable stuff. What an ending to his career at Ascot. He wins on Chorleyman, and then he takes the big one on King of Steel. You couldn't make it up, could you? You couldn't write it. A fantastic day at Ascot. Was enjoyed by everybody who was there, and a tremendous performance from that horse. And I think he'd make a very good 4-year-old, wouldn't he? I wonder if he'll stay in training. If he did, I think he could have a very good season, because he's big, he's burly, and there's still more to come from him, I think. But superbly ridden by Dettori. He was great on Chorleyman. He was fantastic on King of Steel as well. He's clearly got it, and that's why he wants to carry on riding. That was King of Steel winning the big one on Champions Day. There's some really good action at Leopardstown over the weekend. I think we potentially saw some quite nice 2-year-olds, one of which I want to highlight here in the Airfield Stakes. It was a Group 3 contest over 9 furlongs. Grosvenor Square was well back, 10-11 from 6-5, Zaphod 7-2, 6-1 Naval Force, Cambridge 13-2, 12 Spanish Plume and Gibbs Island 33s. Grosvenor Square is the horse I really want to concentrate on here. Let's see what happened there at Leopardstown. Shamie Heffernan on board for Aidan O'Brien. Ground was very soft. It was hard work out there. Indeed, they were splashing through a few puddles down the back straight. There he is in front at this stage. He's a big, rangy, scopy individual. Cambridge from the same stable held up last, and Zaphod in the yellow colours finished back in 3rd place. Quite a steadily run contest. Shamie Heffernan able to dictate on this big, rangy horse. Look at his stride. He's got a massive stride on him, and he looks like a thorough stayer for the future. Shamie dictated this steady gallop with a finishing speed percentage of 104.63. So he's able to rate him out in front. He's got no pace pressure, and some will crab the performance because he got his own way out in front. I'm not going to, though, because I think he was pretty impressive overall. He's got a lovely pedigree. He's by Galileo, who else, out of a Cape Cross mare, which, well, there's loads of stamina on the damn side of his pedigree, and indeed he is very well related. He's a half brother to the Irish Derby winner Santiago, who went on to be tried at 2 miles. So it's a strong staying family, and this fella just gallops on too resolutely for his rivals. He was the only horse who was able to go under 13 seconds in the 8th furlong. These are slow sectionals I'm quoting. That's because of the ground. It really was quite hard work out there. Shamie beginning to let him stretch out in front using his gigantic stride. He's beginning to let him roll. Cambridge, who's held up out the back, is beginning to make up ground, and he's worthy of note for the future. He does carry his head a bit awkwardly in the closing stages, but he was fastest in the 6th furlong at 14.09 and the 7th 13.14, so he fired 2 quick furlongs going in pursuit of the winner, and thereafter the winner was quicker in the final furlong. So Cambridge deserves a bit of credit for that, but he looked green and gawky, didn't he, under pressure? Whereas look at the winner, big, long, raking stride on him, galloping all the way to the line. 9 furlongs in heavy ground for 2-year-olds, hard work all day long. But he got the job done in resolute style. He's won comfortably, and I put it to you that he's surely an interesting horse for the Derby next season. He's going to stay 1.5 miles. So often we get to the start of the season and you think, oh, well, will this horse be a Guineas horse? Will he stay 1.5 miles? We don't know. Well, you know this fella, with his pedigree and the fact he's won over 9 as a 2-year-old, he'll stay 1.5 miles. The only doubt will be whether he'd have enough speed to perhaps beat flashier types in the Derby. But he's an interesting shout for it. He's 33-1 at the moment for the Derby. This was his 3rd career start. He's improving with all of his runs. He's won 2 of them, and he's improving all the time, and I just thought he was worth noting going forward as a 3-year-old. I really love that long, raking stride, and he's going to be a very strong stayer next year as a 3-year-old. Put him in your racing TV tracker. So that's it for the verdict this week, and indeed for this flat season. I hope you've enjoyed reviewing all of the races that we have looked at through the season, and today enjoyed QIPCO British Champions Day, which was Frankie's day. 2 brilliant rides from him, as you'd expect. Bye-bye from me. See you soon.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.